Millie.
You are live.
Welcome to Unicorn Chef. I'm your host, Margot. And today we have Amy, Karen, Stokes, Waters, and Mark. And goodbye.
Thank you, Margot.
Thanks, Maggie. Hi, everyone. Welcome to episode 19 of Unicorn Chef. We are firing through them now. And today I am joined by the wonderful Mark Shawa, who was very, very briefly introduced by Maggie. So let's let Mark do his own introduction.
Oh my goodness.
Mark, tell us a bit about yourself.
That, again, I'm going to say what I said. It's always a little bit hard. When you say a little bit, like what does a little bit constitute of? But I'll make it brief. I'll make it short. Thanks, Amy. My name is Mark. Essentially, I'm from Zambia. But I know Amy did also say South Africa because I'm a little bit of in both worlds. But name is Mark Shawa, Zambian, in Zambia as we speak. And I'm a cybersecurity enthusiast. But also at the same time, I think it's just also because I'm a big mouth, right? So strongly believe in cybersecurity awareness and culture very specifically, right? So not just the whole thing of throwing awareness and letting people know what they need to do, but I think it's more about changing the culture. Yeah. Outside of that, fan of wine. And I did say that if you're joining in, a sprinkle of magic and a little bit of wine.
We like wine.
Will also be part of the ingredients. So in terms of the chaos that Amy is going to actually let us get into. But that's me, short introduction in terms of who I am and what I do. So Amy, again, thank you for inviting me. I hope we can cook up a storm and at the same time, stir up a few pots. But let me not do too many kitchen puns, even though it's cybersecurity.
Let's save those for when we've had a little bit more wine.
Yes.
So I think I first met you on LinkedIn, but then I met you in real life last year when I flew over to Africa, I think. Did I meet you then?
No, I don't think I was involved in that. I think we had an online conversation. Don't worry.
Oh, was it a video? Okay.
Yeah, we did a video last year. But yeah, either way, we met. We're still meeting. That's the good part about it.
Yes. And you are the man with the poshest accent that I've ever met.
I have no idea how that's possible. Because between you and I, your accent is way better than mine.
I would beg to differ. But yeah, so I think we kind of met when we were talking about, again, like you said, kind of security culture, but you've moved on a little bit away from that now, haven't you? So what do you currently, what are you currently focusing on? What kind of projects are you working on?
Okay, perfect. So a lot of now what I do is, so it's consulting work, right? So organization here in Zambia, cybersecurity one, shout out, they're called Digital Safe. So a lot of what I do is now around getting clients to essentially be that digitally safe. But what does that really mean? So clients come in, there's new regulations that pop up, right? So, oh my God, in Zambia right now, we're talking about data protection. It's such a big thing, right? I know over in Europe, GDPR has been there for quite a bit, but we're really getting into it. So a lot of companies come in and say, how do we get there? And what does it mean for us? So a lot of my work now involves getting clients to understand what this means, but also helping them to achieve specifically one like around compliance of like different regulations, but also certifications, right? So you've got ISO 27001, which is just information security management system, right? So now we understand, we go into your environment, what exactly does it look like? What's the gap? How can we plug in? How do we make sure that we're putting the right security processes into your business processes and essentially establishing a great amount of cyber resilience at the end of the day, right? So we implement this and now you've got the cyber resilience. Because the reality now is that it's not about whether you're going to get attacked, but it's about how you're going to respond to it. Everybody's like, how can we be 100% safe? And I'm like, if any expert tells you that you're 100% secure, run, just disappear, just forget about it. They're lying to you. But what it is about how do you respond to these things because you have to adapt. So that's a lot of my work, risk management, cybersecurity strategy. And it's a lot of listening and talking and listening and talking and then actually trying to implement the work so that our clients really understand and get into like a really great place from a security posture perspective. So that's a lot of my work now.
Yeah, and I think that kind of does I mean, I know earlier we were like, shit, what are we actually going to talk about on this podcast? Because we're chaotic as usual. But I think actually what you've said there in kind of the terms of the work that you do aligns quite a lot with what I do, because we talk about not using security as a tick box exercise, not using security training as a tick box exercise.
Correct.
But I think compliance is often used as a tick box exercise. It's like, okay, we've got the clear desk policy done. Let's just get it out of the cupboard in a year's time. No one actually pays attention to it. But if you're implementing it in a way where it's embedded into that security culture, then I think that must be making much more of an impact on the actual security of the organization. So then it's using compliance as a vehicle to make something more secure rather than compliance as a vehicle to be compliant.
Correct. Yeah. So like, as you've said, the whole thing of a tick box exercise, right? So everybody goes in, you say, have we got it? Have we got it? Right. But that's just one part, right? That's the beginning of what you're ever doing. And it's sad because some people will just look at it. And then you sort of ask yourself that, what are you doing throughout the rest of the year? Because, okay, fair enough, it's there. So a lot of now the work we do is, what's the continuous way of doing this? Because that's the culture. It's adding little behaviors into what you already do so that you can be able to, manage the risks that are associated. Because a lot of the time, security is looked at as, oh, these are the blockers. We now share the same level of, what's the right word? I want to sort of feel like a vampire. Like, if you put garlic in front of a vampire, it goes, ksh. That's how people feel to us. We are the garlic sometimes. And it's like, these guys are here again, and they're trying to stop us from doing what we need to do. So a lot of now my work is, how do I enable the business to achieve what it needs to do, but it does business securely? So instead of thinking of security as a plugin, you just say security as your DNA. It's part of what you just do. So when you're filling in a form or when you're getting information from someone, in your head, you need to be thinking, where am I going to put this so that someone else doesn't get it?
Yeah.
And that's actually how it works better, because that's what you must say is that in all that you're doing, what are the ways that you can make sure you're protecting the next person and also protecting yourself? Because half the time we sometimes forget about ourselves. So yeah, that's a lot of how we do it. It's the culture element that I've got a very big passion for, because that's people. We talk about AI and all that jazz, but you still need people. At the end of the day, without the people, we can't do anything.
Yeah, and I think you also kind of really need that engagement and understanding of just even the basics of security for you to be able to embed that culture in. Because if people don't understand why they might be a target, or what maybe some of the low-hanging fruit is in terms of attack vectors like phishing emails, or like you said, oversharing information or filling forms in wrong, over-disclosure, that kind of thing. People don't understand that, then they're not likely to then kind of change their behaviors to not do those things. So I think kind of the awareness and education piece must actually be quite a large part of you going out and explaining to businesses, like, this is why we have to do it this way, and this is how to be compliant with it.
That's exactly it. So it's the softer skills. And in my head, I never think the softer skills are actually as soft. Everyone assumes soft skills mean easy, but a lot of the engagements when you're facing people, that's the hard skill. One, when I'm conveying a message, do they actually receive it how I'm intending it to be received? Yeah. So, it's different when you go and tell someone, don't click on a link, right? Everyone says, don't click on links. And then here's the funny part, right? Is you have a tool that sends you something for training and it's a link. And you're like, but you just told me don't click a link. You get what I mean, is that you're contradictory. So what do we do? So for a lot of the stuff now is like, we need to translate what we're saying into practical things, make sure that people grasp exactly what it means, and also understand on the broader perspective why it's important to do what may seem minor, but actually has a very larger, it's a ripple effect, right? Like what they call the butterfly effect. When a butterfly flaps its wings, people think, oh, it's something little. But I think it's the Japanese that really talk a lot about this, is the ripple effect is actually much larger. So getting people to understand that you're part of a bigger ripple effect just when you flap your wings. And that's when they start to really say that, oh my goodness, so how can I flap my wings in a better way that will not impact the organization in a much bigger negative way? Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's a really interesting way of thinking about it. I've never To be fair, before this conversation, I don't think I've ever thought about compliance as that. But no, I think you've opened my eyes.
Welcome.
Compliance is just fucking boring, isn't it? Most people.
That is what everyone looks at it like. It's so sad, right? Everyone said so now GRC. I say this: GRC is the new sexy because regulation is coming up. Right. So GRC, to be honest, is what everyone wants to talk about. Before it was everyone wants to be a pen tester, everyone wants to hack. But now we realize that, we can't do it alone. So many tools have come up. When you look at a lot of the tools that we've got now, there's a big push around security tools specifically for compliance. Why is it that something that is archaic, because compliance stems a lot from the legal side, right? Which is very archaic. Law is archaic. It stems from there. But why is it now that even your vendors are really saying, well, guys, how do you manage compliance? How can we automate this? Because you realize it's the new sexy. You realize that it's actually it's one of the foundational items that needs to be in place, which can essentially make or break your organization.
Well, I think there's been a lot bigger companies in the news recently. I mean, especially in the UK, that have been getting hacked. And a lot of the time it's because they've not got maybe policies or training in place that tells people, like the culture of kind of how to respond to, I don't know, a phishing call or a phishing email or social engineering attacks. The culture's not there that's helping people kind of understand how to respond to those attacks.
Correct.
I think that the GRC stuff's going to come up, like you said, because there's more regulation coming in place around like supply chain attacks. But there's also a lot of big companies that are getting hit and people are looking at them going, how are you guys getting hit? You should have all of the tools and should be singing and dancing your security awareness, your security tool set. But the people are still a big risk. And if we don't put the right culture in place and we don't have that kind of awareness and engagement from the staff, then these things are going to continue happening.
And that's true. It's really boils down a lot to the people. So, even when you buy a tool and you bring it into your environment, who are the people who need to install it? It's still people. Who are the people who need to configure it? It's still people. Who are the people who need to use it? It's still people. You're not going to find, and maybe I might be corrected, is an AI tool that will install itself and configure itself according to a policy without any intervention of a person.
I mean, that would be fucking cool if it did.
I'd be more worried because then it might kick us out of things that we didn't know it has kicked us out of. So you still do want to keep the human element, because I think our intuition is actually what makes sure that we stay relevant in a lot of the conversations. Because if we lacked intuition as people and if we just really lived on a binary way of doing things, because I think that's what, from the inception of where AI comes from. It started with binary, went into trees, and then has moved into, large language models and all of that jazz.
Yeah.
We would have already been replaced, but it tells us that we still need that gut feel, that intuition, that when you look at something, there's a decision that has to be made. You look at something, there's sometimes things like too much security, right? So if AI knew that, all I'm doing is to make sure things are 100% secure, we would end up not operating, because if every day you think about it, right? Think about it like this. Every day we actually engage with risk. Mm-hmm. When you jump into a car and you go drive, you're engaging with risk already, because whether you accept it or not, what you've done is you're going to go outside knowing or not really knowing whether the next driver is going to do enough or do the right thing. Mm-hmm. But what is it that you do? You have your seatbelt on because that's just general stuff. But if you are a more cautious driver, you're going to make sure you look left, look right, depending on how it is. When you turn, you indicate. Those are all ways that you're implementing certain controls, because we always are engaging with risk, right? AI would have probably said, stay home, right? But then again, it will probably tell you don't lie on the bed, because if you lie on the bed on this we wouldn't know. We would just be frozen.
Yeah, right? I think we can't give AI kind of the decision-making power over some of that risk, because as we know, with things like, I mean, I don't think SatNav's AI, but when you look at kind of SatNav and you say, I want to get to the airport, it doesn't take it, you know what the fastest way is, because if it takes you down the motorway, then there's going to be a big traffic jam. So actually you need to go the back route, even though the AI is telling you fastest way is the motorway.
There we go. there we go.
But
So
because
you
you
can
have
make a
a human
decision.
perception of the risk that's associated with it, then you need to kind of override the information that it's giving you and put some actual perspective on it.
Correct, because that's the thing. I think that, as you just used the word perspective, is point of view, right? So AI will have its own way of doing things, but the human element always says that, there's different points of views that we need to consider in this, and also where we want to go. So AI does a whole lot of stuff for us, but at the end, the decision making is really much, on us. So I'm looking at the time.
Yeah, I was just thinking,
how are we going to go?
I don't think we've even said what we are cooking today, have we? What are we cooking?
Well, okay, so for those who don't know, if you did engage with the LinkedIn post, we are going to be making, I'm going to say a seafood pasta because...
deviated from the recipe and picked salmon.
Yeah, someone deviated with their human intuition, right? Because AI would have followed the recipe. But yes, so on my side, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be doing a simple shrimp pasta, right? So I think what we can do is we can get our stuff all heated up. On my side,
cook this salmon first, so that'll take a couple of minutes. But I will prepare Have you prepared all your ingredients already?
I have, because I'm such a weird person like that. So, the worst part is thinking that you know how to chop ingredients, and then all of a sudden, it's just because you're on camera and you're trying to focus and you're just like, nope, this is not being chopped. So unfortunately, everybody, I already have all my garlic and my Parmesan all sorted out. But if you thought of joining us,
that is disgustingly organized, and I am now going to chop my garlic.
It's called compliance.
I feel
we have
like
to think of these things early.
You risk assessed whether you would, be able to chop while you're talking.
There we go. So that gives me
by preparing. So now you can just drink wine while I'm chopping garlic.
No, definitely. But I mean, you're already starting stuff up. So in my head, what I'm going to do as well is I'm going to also heat up the water for the pasta, because at least, you have to have it boiling.
Yes.
So rather get that up and running on my side. It will be a whole lot easier for us.
So do you do a lot of cooking at home, or are you more of that kind of guy?
So I do enjoy the cooking. Let me now I have to turn this off. I'll boil the old school way, because if I keep it on, won't be able to hear. So I do enjoy cooking. I find it very therapeutic. It's one of those things for me where after having a long day, or probably also on the weekend when you have a lot of time, like the process, so it's the entire journey of, okay, what is it that I want to cook? What do I want it to taste like? So, before we even went live, I did say something that I really do enjoy is a great oxtail.
Yes.
Right. A really, really great oxtail. And that takes, like, depending on how you're doing it, if you're doing a slow cook, then, anything between 3 to even 6 hours, because you want that oxtail to be falling off the bone, right?
Yeah.
And I really enjoy it. The other thing I really love about cooking is it also becomes experimental. So my background is, as a science kid, computer science. So you experiment on a lot of stuff. You try this, you see if it works, you try it. And probably also another reason why I ended up finding myself in cybersecurity is that it's an ever-learning thing. So what I'll do is, with the cooking, I do the same thing. It's just trying it out. So I love chili. I'll throw a little bit of chili. Is it good enough? Is it hot enough? No, not really. Add some more. Or like the recipe that we had said 3 cloves of garlic. I'm sorry, I went 5.
Yeah.
Because
every time I do a podcast, I'm like, it said 2 cloves of garlic, so I did like 7 because I love garlic.
Yeah, and then you just have to make sure that you've just really brushed your teeth afterwards, because that's a lot of garlic to deal with. So
luckily, my boyfriend's in London this week, so he doesn't have to deal with it. So I'm all good.
Oh, is he actually going to be eating the food as well?
No, not this week, not today. So that's fine. He's away with work. So
okay, so
I'm free to just eat as much garlic as I like. It's brilliant.
So that's okay. That's okay. Yeah. So that's really for me. So cooking is therapeutic. It's really good to be able to step away like from the madness of work and all of that. And I think probably also like a thing for me is also just like there's the joy of when it's completed, like you've cooked and now you take a little bit of time for it to settle, because I almost lose my appetite for a little bit, but then you come
Yeah.
back and you taste it and you're like, that really tasted nice.
Yeah, I really, really enjoy feeding people. I literally love it. If I cook something and someone likes it, I'm like, oh, it's the best feeling ever.
I love that as well. My partner also enjoys a really good, like the oxtail. So it's one thing that she enjoys. So it's really fun. Like even, early days of us meeting, it was like oxtail that she tasted and it was like, oh, and we really connected on the oxtail. So it's one of those ways like,
that's how you got her to go out with you, by giving her.
I think so. Probably. It was definitely the oxtail. It was that it was, the thing where you have it off the pot. So it was really great. You don't even have to worry about dishing it out. So yeah, it's also a great way to connect. It's a great way to connect with people. For one time, my best friend, he actually did like a cooking class for his birthday with a bunch of us. It was really intimate. And, that was something that we did. So I find definitely cooking, and I'm going to bring cybersecurity into this, is you think of when you're about to do something, right? You prepare. So, you have to have the recipe and, like you have to think of the ingredients, right? So your recipe kind of looks like your strategy, right?
Yeah.
So how are you going to start from this part to the end? So you always have the end in mind, right? So a lot of also what my work considers when I'm talking to clients is, what's the end that you've got in mind? What do you want to achieve? And how do we get there, right? So similar way with cooking and cybersecurity can follow the same thing is, what are now the what are the ingredients that you need, right? So what are the basic things that you need? And a lot of the times you find a whole lot of people, and this, I almost feel like I'm ranting against vendors, is that you want to get all the cast iron pot, you want to have the latest air fryer, you want to have a proper hob and all of that. And guess what, after doing all of that, when you want to cook, you forget that you don't have your olive oil or your cooking oil, and you don't have your salt. And then depending on the meal you want to do, you're like, oh crap, so I can't do anything, right? Or it's not going to turn out the way it should because the basics are missing. And you find that's what happens a lot in the cybersecurity spaces. We talk so much push for all these new things, but we still are struggling with just maintaining the basics and making sure that, as you said, multi-factor authentication. So on your devices, how often do we have that? On your banking apps, how often do we have that? This is just from an individual perspective. And then in an organization, because we want to work remotely, how often do we have that thing of having, a virtual private network connection between our devices and essentially the systems it wants to access? We probably don't have those in place. And we get really shocked that the threat actors are working extra hard to hope we don't have it in place, because they are doing as much as they can.
Yeah, and I mean, those things are like the lowest hanging fruit. So I always think, why would you not just...
Yes.
Like, what's stopping you from doing it? What is is it because you don't know it exists? Is it because it's too difficult to use? What is the blocker to some of this stuff? Because switching MFA on blocks like 99% of attacks.
It does a good amount of your attacks. I mean, look, they are maturing and reaching a different level, but I think what people want is ease of access.
Sorry, my child is currently in the living room banging on the giant box that some balloons came in for her, and now I think she might be stuck in it, but I'm leaving her to it.
Well, I mean, she's got entertainment. I think a lot of what happens is we're still stuck in this world, right, where digital wants to make our life easy, right? And what we look at is and this is from a technology perspective, we look at security as an add-on. So we don't think of security at the beginning. Yes. Because we've already put in the infrastructure in place. So I'm going to get my shrimp ready and start adding it in, right? Because now my heat is...
I've got water boiling, or it's on the way to boiling, and I've got salmon cooking, so
that's totally fine. So let me get my shrimp on. And this is going to be quick because it just needs about a minute per side.
Yeah, that's the good thing with prawns. They don't take long to cook, do they?
No. And I already made sure that I've patted them dry and the like. So the thing with security is a lot of people have made it come afterwards. So because of digital transformation, ease of access, right?
Yeah. Do you think we kind of adopted digital methods a bit too quickly without actually thinking about the implications of it? I mean, because I remember being little and I was probably on some fucking website I shouldn't have been on actually. But anyway, I had a username and password for it. And I remember having to email the company to ask them to change my password. And I was like, my old password was this. Can you change my new password to this? I mean, it's about probably nearly 30 years ago, right? But can you imagine having to do that anywhere now? No. But we're building
never
websites
share
with
your old
passwords.
password anymore.
But we were building websites with passwords, so presumably there needed to be some level of security then. But I just don't think it was ever thought of in the same ways, obviously not in the same ways we think of it now. But yeah, it just seems like an afterthought.
It wasn't done that way. So I think when I think about what probably the issue has been is we never thought of security in mind. We thought of security after. Because what we were doing is more of access. What we were doing is more of ease of use of certain things, right? So we want to digitize. We want to make sure we can make life easy, right? And that obviously, it drove a lot of the digitization. But it just means that by design, we didn't have it. Now, when you think about when you're thinking of a house and you're building a house, you're building a home, you're not just going to build a cardboard box, right? Because you now need to think of what's the weather implications wherever I'm going to be building, right? How susceptible am I to whatever type of natural disasters there, right? Yeah. And this is the engineering way. So maybe it means that security engineering wasn't really in mind, right? Because who were the security engineers at the time? They didn't have that. You had software engineers and software developers, but everyone was thinking of something else. You had designers, but no one was a security designer at that time.
Yeah.
So we ran with this, which I mean, I don't complain about, because if we also got too stuck thinking about it in terms of, no, let's first think of the security and let's think of all the risks, we may not have moved as fast as we wanted to. So we sit now in a dilemma. But we have to go back and think that, okay, even we're trying to catch up with where technology is going, but are our foundations in place? And that's a lot of where you find issues arise. A lot of the breaches that you find all of a sudden is because, guess what? Someone left a system where they put it into the environment and the password is still the same. And you're like, right, why didn't you update it?
Yeah.
Why didn't you change it?
Our passwords are hard coded into the source code.
And you know what that looks like is, I think about it like this, is let's say you bought a house which was 20 years old. Are you still going to keep the same door handles with the same key type of structure on the house that you bought from 20 years ago?
Yeah, probably not.
You probably won't. Why? Because maybe the previous tenant or the previous owner still has keys to that house. So they can actually come in. But what are you going to do? You're going to make a change to that, right? And then you also want the house.
I mean, well, we know that burglars have got better tools now that mean that they can probably break through those locks, which is exactly the same analogy that we should be thinking about in terms of our digital services.
What's even crazier is, like, if you lose your set of keys, it's always weird, is you lose your set of keys and everyone knows, like, there's, I think, like numbers, like old school keys have got like the numbers on them. You just go to like your locksmith and you say, hey, can you please replicate this number, or this was my key number, and they'll make it for you. So you just think that in the digital world now, where you can probably get that from anybody now, it makes it even worse. It's ease of access to get these things done. And we tend to forget that attackers nowadays, like, the threat landscape is crazier because you've got state attackers who are state sponsored. So you have attackers who are out there who are specifically doing it to bring down governments, and they're being sponsored by probably another government.
Yeah.
So the funding is there. And then you sit and you're like, but some people don't even want to invest in the security. So if an attacker can invest heavily to attack, why are you not investing heavily to protect?
Okay, I'm just going to let you know now. My water's boiling.
Perfect. That is okay, because you can get your pasta up and running there, because I'm also going to boil mine, because my water is really hot. So I'm not going to cook way too much. Which pasta did you decide to get?
I went for linguine.
Okay, that works. So I think my prawns are looking a little bit on the good pink side, but I don't want to overcook them. So I will just set them to the side. So maybe, Amy, to make this also interactive, I'm going to ask you. So Amy, what do you do? Because there could be different viewers who you never know might be watching.
What do I do? Well, I think based off our conversation, actually, it's not hugely dissimilar to what you do. It's just a bit of a different audience that I've got. So instead of focusing on, organizational compliance, I'm very much focused on teaching those end users teaching end users how to be engaged with security and why it's important, but without it being boring as fuck. Because, like we said earlier, compliance can be really boring. Cybersecurity, for anyone that's not in cyber, is really fucking dull. We all think in cyber that because most cyber people are IT nerds that have then got into cybersecurity.
Correct.
So if you're an IT nerd, you look at cyber and go, oh, that's the coolest bit of IT, because no one sat there thinking, end user support is the coolest bit of IT. But we're all like, yeah, hacking shit, that's cool as fuck, man. So we all think it's cool. But then compare that to normal people who aren't in IT and couldn't give less of a fuck about computers. The kind of people that don't read cyber blogs on a weekend, don't compete in Capture the Flags, don't read like Computer Weekly or whatever. Those people still look at us and think, you're big nerds and I'm not interested in what you're talking about. So my job is to find a way that kind of gets those messages across in a way that's interesting. So yeah, that's what I do. But I think it's a very similar concept to what you do, but just at a different level in the business.
Yeah, which is something that's interesting, right? Is I bridge a lot between business, so client facing, who will ask the question, so what? Okay, I've got a vulnerability in my area, so what? What's that going to do for me? Right. And it's having to learn how to translate a technical message, because honestly speaking, a lot of what cybersecurity is very technical. Having to translate that message, tell a story.
Well, can I just stop you there a second? Is it technical? Is it really? Like, put 2FA on. That's not fucking technical, because the end users don't need to know anything more. I think this is where we go wrong in businesses. We tell them fucking everything because we're so passionate about it. It's like, yeah, but then you should have this firewall and you should be looking at this and here, look at this code and you should be doing blah, 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 blah. It's boring, right? Let's just tell them the things that they need to know. They need to know to switch 2FA on. They need to know to not put the passwords on the internet. They need to know to switch the privacy settings on social media. That's it. What else? Like that would stop, like, I reckon, a good 90% of shit that goes on.
True. But I think that, so here's the difficult part, right? And I say this because, this is working with organizations, right? And so I think it's easier when you're speaking to the general person. Now, here's the bigger difference that always arises when you're doing it with businesses, is each person has also got their own KPIs. Each person has got their own thing that they're trying to achieve in the organization, right? So, they all have something that they're trying to do. And the minute we now say, guys, as you're doing this, and this is maybe where the tougher part comes, is switch this off, right? But not really getting into the business to understand how they do what they're doing and why they're doing what they're doing. Because a lot of people know why it's important. We're actually beyond the ignorance. It's not that they don't know. They do know. But it's that also on a security front, we sometimes translate the message in a way that sounds like policing instead of sounding in a way that's enabling. Because why is it important for me to be putting in MFA if it's now going to reduce my operational efficiency?
So
because that's not where we're trying to be.
What we tend to talk about, I mean, MFA, I think, just fucking it with as the IT or security team, just fucking switch it on everything. That's it, done. Right? People just have to work around it. So it just should just be non-optional. But I think what kind of the messaging that we try and put across is about like personal security. So in your own life, outside of work, why don't we talk about how you can be more secure there? Because you'll give more of a fuck about it.
And I think that's
where it is. Every episode of this podcast, no one cares about your organization's data. No one. I just can't believe that there are employees sat there going, "Oh my god, I clicked this phishing link and now all of our employee data is gone." I'd just be like, "Mate, I get a free day off work because we got ransomware." Awesome.
Oh yeah, someone's still getting fired. So us, the security people, worry about that because our biggest fear is when that happens. Now, because also if you look at the trend,
now you're getting cold.
Yeah, it's also a sad trend that's happening is every time there's an attack for a major organization, because the reality that people are doing is they're saying that it's the cybersecurity team. And this is where I get so livid is they say cybersecurity, the security is the cyber team's responsibility. And we're like, no. Everybody's responsibility, right?
For it to be everyone's responsibility, everyone has to care about it in the same way. So instead of trying to take cyber to them, just meet them. Instead of trying to bring them to cyber, take cyber to them. Meet them in the fucking middle where they are. Also, what are we doing now? You're pouring things into a pan, and I'm not doing that.
Oh my goodness, because I'm going in. So I've already now put my heavy cream, right? Because now I'm basically putting together the sauce.
Right. So I haven't actually read this recipe. I need you to actually talk me through it, or I've got no dinner.
Okay, cool. So you're doing salmon, right? So
yes, I've got the salmon. I've got a pan ready to go. What am I putting in this pan?
Right. So have you put your garlic in the pan? Because you need to. Yeah, come on now. Hey,
there were no instructions.
Why did you not read the instructions? This is shared.
Because you were meant to talk us through it. That's part of the podcast, Mark.
That part you didn't mention, but we'll do our best, right? So as they say, build the plane as you fly it. I think that's a really horrible.
I've got garlic in the pan. I'm good.
So essentially, what we've started is, so you put whatever your protein is going to be, because what that's going to do is going to create sort of like a base of flavor for you with the protein. Then obviously salt a little bit of it, and then in the same pan, you're going to add a little bit more oil, and you're going to put some of your garlic. You don't want to over toast your garlic, so reduce your heat.
Done.
You don't want your garlic because it starts to taste burnt. So you want it to be fragrant. So literally just about a minute of your garlic in that oil, and then add some unsalted butter. All right, because then the butter is going to melt and make sure that
Let me grab some butter. 1 sec.
For the people that are still there, Amy is going to grab butter. We are now putting together.
My fridge is like 2 seconds away from my computer. So I've got butter.
Yeah, I always need to go to the fridge so that I can top up on the wine because.
Go for it. I'll talk about butter while you go.
Okay, that's not a problem. So you can add the butter. Let me get some wine.
Butter, and then I'm drinking red wine this week as usual, but I do actually have white wine in the fridge because I figured it might need to go in this recipe, but I wasn't 100% sure.
No, so not necessarily, but obviously you can. It's a great thing about pasta.
So I've put butter in, now what, cream?
Okay, yes, butter and then cream. Make sure it's a medium heat. So you can tell by the consistency, right? And you can actually now add some seasoning into the whole mix of the cream and the garlic, and you can add the Parmesan as well. So I really do love Parmesan. It's one of those great cheeses to add.
Salt. I think I'm going to put a little bit of chili in this as well,
I'm also going to add some chili. So you basically can add. So I'm going to also add some paprika because I just want a little bit more flavor in it. So I'm going to add a little bit more paprika into this. Some salt and pepper. I've already salted it, so adding a little bit of pepper. Because we don't like thick things bland.
No, definitely not.
No, we do not like things bland. Obviously, you just need to be tasting as you go, so you know that is the sauce tasting already all good. Does it need to become a little bit thicker? So you add a little bit of cream.
Oh my god, that's good.
So I'm gonna leave some Parmesan because that's gonna come onto the plate. But yeah, I don't know if those who can see, there's a little bit of the sauce in this one. It looks like a bit on my side. So,
unbelievably, considering I've not followed your recipe at all, mine looks exactly like that. So that's impressive.
yeah, and at this time, your pot should be boiling. So you said you've got linguine. So
Yeah.
I got tagliatelle. Essentially to make it al dente. It just needs, about 6-7 minutes.
Uh-huh.
Don't want it to overcook because it will finish off essentially in the
sauce.
Ooh. So definitely what I'm gonna get as well is a little bit of lemon because lemon is always great. So if you want to also drizzle a little bit of lemon into the sauce, it also will cut the thickness of your sauce. So always do that. So if your sauce is too thick, add some acid. That's always the key thing. Add some acid. So get some lemon.
Like a professional chef giving us all these tips. We don't normally get this level of
This
chef.
is what happens when you sit and you're watching MasterChef with your partner, and it's great because
amazing.
We appreciate it. So
okay, so then I'm guessing we just chuck the pasta and the prawns.
Yeah, so I'm now gonna put I'm gonna put my prawns back into the sauce. Just so that they can cook a little bit. But now your pasta if your pasta is already al dente, I need to put it into my pot. And an important thing about your pasta, make sure that your water is salted. Okay?
Yes.
So always salt your water.
Yeah.
Not too much.
I've been following an Italian guy on TikTok, and he makes pasta sauce from scratch, and he puts probably fucking like half a kilo of salt into every pasta dish that he would. He literally just has like a handful and just he's like, salt the water. But I mean, incredible. So,
yeah, it's a really important thing, right? Salt the water, and again, I'm always going to bring security into this. Is with cooking. I said, how am I going to merge talking about security? So at the end of the day, is with organizations that are here, something that you need to learn is you need to adapt, right? So as I said, one of the things that you do is if you find that your sauce is a little bit too thick, you add acid, right? So when things change in your environment, you need to sometimes shift how you do things. And a good example, like I just said, like at the very beginning, we're talking about regulations come in every other time. And you immediately have to now think, what are we going to do as an organization? So a lot of the work that I also do is how do we make sure that you're adaptable? So you need to sometimes also be able to test for some of these crazy environments, right? So you need to be able to say, okay, cool. What are we going to do to make sure that we're resilient? So if we have a ransomware attack, how do we do it? And, part of also my work involves like creating such type of plans is in the event, let's go test to see how quickly you guys can respond. And I like one thing is that I think, Amy, part of some of your work involves using like, what's this thing called? Is it like secret doors and like your that's almost like a puzzle and everything like that, and how do you respond, right? And that's something that is important, like with executives and the like, is understanding how to respond to some of these threats and putting in place plans. Because again, it's not about when, or it's not about will it happen to us, or no, why would anyone want to hack us or whatever. It's that it's going to happen because the information you keep is important. Whether you like it or not, it can be used for something bigger, right? And the problem is a lot of us, it's horrible in the industry because if someone gets a hack, no one wants to talk about it, right? Because the reality is like, oh my God, it's embarrassing. We've made it way too embarrassing to fail in the cyberspace, and that's sad for us. We're not saying we should fail, but what we're saying is if something happens, speak up. Why? Because it's going to happen to the next person, right? In the banking industry, it's like it's still going to happen. Someone is still going to get hacked. And at the end of the day, if we get to share this information about how it happened, we can build better resilience, not just as an individual, like as a person or as a company, but actually as an industry, right? It's the same way you'd probably like, I think back in the day, we used to always get chain messages, right? So if you receive a message, you forward it to 10 people. Why don't we have that? Okay, I got hacked. Let me let everyone know exactly what had happened. Get the attackers to sort of be like, oh, damn, that skill doesn't work anymore.
Yeah.
Because now everybody knows. I showed it, I did it to one person. Now everybody knows how we did it, right? But no, we have to wait for the software developers, the vendors to come up with a patch that lets us know how to fix it instead of being more community built. And this is the thing. Cybersecurity is everyone's problem, from the individual in a school, right? This is the teenagers in a school who have to struggle sometimes with cyberbullying. They have a responsibility to act right when they're online. And the same responsibility then trickles down as well. Not trickles down, is also now the parents. It's everyone's responsibility, because at the end of the day, whatever we do, okay, now my sauce is looking nice and golden.
Yeah, I think mine's ready. No, I think you are right. Whatever, cybersecurity affects everyone, because there's not a person alive nowadays. Well,
No.
maybe, but not many. There's not a person alive nowadays that don't have some kind of internet access.
That's true.
So it affects everyone. If you're connecting to the internet, there is a potential chance that you are at risk of a cyber attack, even if it's not your device, even if you're logging in as someone else, the risk is still there. So I think it's something that everyone needs to be aware of. And yes, there needs to be different levels of education. So the stuff that you do is obviously more technical than the stuff that I do, because I'm aiming it at generic end users, where you're talking to people who are in charge of processes. So it's like management level. The stuff that you do is needs to be more technical, but it still needs to be accessible and meet people at the level that they're at, rather than to drag them up to where we all are. Because otherwise, if they could get to where we are, they'd just be a fucking cyber consultant.
They will do the work we do.
Exactly. They do. They've got another job. We've just got to teach them a little bit that helps them do their job more securely. That's what our role is. But we seem to think that everyone's going to turn into the next fucking big hacker or the next GRC consultant, because that's what we're interested in. And we do. So I think that we do want to knowledge share, but we want to knowledge share the wrong fucking stuff. You have to do the knowledge basics instead of pushing the knowledge around. Oh, this new shiny thing's come out.
And that's true, right? I think especially in a day and age where, look, information runs rampant, right? People can share the wrong thing. You wanna be the person who tries their best to share what's accurate and what's right. Oh my goodness, how is it that yours is almost already done? And
well, to be fair, I had fresh linguine, so it took about 3 seconds to cook.
That is something that I'll get to some point in my life. I really know I will. I
also put so much cheese in this that it's gone like all cheesy and gooey, and it looks and smells.
Oh, okay. So I missed the step. Is also what you can do is, as you put it in the saucepan where the pasta is happening, not the pasta, but actually the prawn, the sauce, you just add some pasta water, right? So the pasta water, because it's just going to cut through.
Yeah, I didn't do that. I've just got the biggest pile of pasta. I'm so excited.
Do not stress. So I think mine will almost be done.
So the rule in our house is you can never have too much cheese. That is just the rule about cheese. So if there's cheese in there, you can always just add more to it, because cheese it's like garlic. There's unlimited amounts of cheese that are available. I also chopped up some fresh parsley and chucked that in as well to make it look a bit bougie.
Don't worry, we already have the fresh parsley here as well. So I did, as I said, I'm pedantic like that, and you threw it in. So I haven't even got there. How we got there, I don't know.
Well, there we go. There's another analogy, isn't there? For around cooking. It doesn't actually matter how you get there, as long as you get there.
I think that's true.
If you've got an incident response plan, do you know what? Your fucking ingredients to your incident response plan might be slightly different to mine. Does it work?
Yes.
There you go. So we've got to stop being so prescriptive around cyber and saying you have to have these 25 things in place, blah, blah, blah. Do I? Or do you know what? This meal works for me.
Which is true. As you said, we have to stop. And I'm going to say it like this, is shoving controls down people's throats. But as you also said, is meeting people where they're at, right? So a lot of what we have to do from a cyber perspective to get better is go and find out, right? So we have to ask more questions and say, what exactly is it? What do you do? How can I make sure that you still achieve what you want to achieve within whatever KPIs that you've got set up? And whilst you do that, you've got security in your DNA, right? So it's also taking the time to not say that this is your best thing or this is the best way to do it, but understanding that based on what you do and how you do it, these are some of the options that you can take. Like the worst thing that you can always get, and I know, like, you know, it's always on LinkedIn, you know, those salespeople who just slide into your DMs and they tell you what you want. And you're like,
I get them all the fucking time.
That's interesting because you're also like giving products, like you've got something as well. So now it's like, wait, you're telling me what I need. And you know, the interesting thing on your side is they're telling you maybe about servers and all of that, and then it's like, you do know I work from my kitchen. So
the amount of people who I get messaging me saying, we can save you money on your business electricity bill. And I'm like, bro, I will literally work in my living room. If you can.
I'm like, I've already factored that in. But if you're going to make it easier.
Don't worry about it. I have no fucking office. But again, the levels of security that I need as a business are much lower than the levels of security that a massive organization needs. So we protect the assets that we've got. We know exactly what our assets are. I know where they are. I know what they are, where they are, who they're provided by.
Yeah.
I know all of our systems have got 2FA on them because if I sign up to a new service, I enforce that 2FA is switched on for all of the people using it in our team. So we try, obviously we're at an advantage because it's the shit that we teach to people every day, right? But we put the basics in place because the complicated stuff, I don't need ISO 27001. There's like 10 of us. It's like massive overkill. But I think if we build securely from the beginning and make sure that we have these things in place, then when we do grow, it will be much easier for us to get those levels of certification because it's already built into the culture of how we work. Have we lost Mark?
Because if you're to say we build it from scratch, then do we need ISO? I'm going to leave it at that because I don't want to obviously upset anybody. But that would be an interesting thing because what happens when now people reach a point of having security in their DNA and implementing all of these things as part of their culture, right? Because the more you do it, it almost drops the barrier to entry, right? Because that's what it is. The more you do it, the barrier to entry drops. But also the reality that comes up is we may not be able to catch up with that because I'm almost done on this side, which is great.
Good. This food is tasting amazing and I'm really hungry and I want to go eat it.
Don't worry. Mine is coming up.
Good. So I think we're pretty much at the end anyway, aren't we? We've kind of covered.
We've got like about 8 minutes or so.
Considering we had fuck all idea what we were going to talk about when we joined this call, I think that's actually been really interesting. And I think I especially loved how many cooking analogies we managed to fit into this.
I couldn't run away from it, to be honest, because I just thought that it makes sense. Sometimes, like, if you want to over plan, and I just said, think of what you're doing right now. Okay, we can turn that off. So we've got this here. All of this is now in. Got a little bit of parsley. So for those who are able to see if you're there.
I think the parsley and just sprinkled on top makes it look like a chef's made it then. That's exactly how to make it look like a chef meal.
And you throw in just a little bit of Parmesan. Again, as you just said, you can never have enough cheese. And in my head, I'm like, you can never have enough multi-factor authentication. So add more. Okay, I'm kidding. Don't add more because too much of it now becomes a problem. Truth is also too much security means you cannot do enough work. There's things that I think more conversations that need to happen around governance, risk, and compliance is the opportunity of risk. And the best people to always talk about the opportunities of risk is like the entrepreneurs, because they go out there and say that I've got something that will make a difference, right? And they see an opportunity, but they also recognize that there's a risk, is that it may fall flat on its head, right? So even in security is maybe being able to have a conversation about the opportunity of risk, and what that can do for you. That actually would be a great conversation. And how do we now? Oh, this is looking good. I probably will get burnt if I immediately throw it into my mouth, but I'm gonna try a prawn here.
Give it a go. It's pretty good.
Probably needs a little bit more chili, but that's okay. I'll be able to add it through.
Yes.
I think as cyber experts, and I know like we got like about 5 minutes left on this, is learning to speak differently in a way that you said meet people where it is, and also looking at risk in a way that we can make it, and I'm speaking from a company perspective and not just the individual, is learning to be able to show the value and the opportunity that comes with doing things securely. I always think of it now like this, is that if you build a house securely, or if you put all the things in, so you make sure that your locks are in place, you make sure that, if you're in a gated standalone house, it's gated and everything like that. You put your electric fence if you can afford that. You also get a dog there to also be able to bark at people if people try to jump in and enter. What does that allow you to do? One, it allows you to have comfort in your home, right? May create a false sense of security, because that's also something that can sometimes happen.
It might do, but if you look at the neighbour's house who hasn't got all that shit up, when an attacker comes along, who are they going to attack? It isn't you then, is it? Because you've put those barriers in place. So those barriers just make, all you've got to do, and I say this all the time, all you got to do is, if you're running away from a lion, you've just got to be fucking quicker than the slowest person.
Yeah, but that's not going to help. That's not going to help in when you're looking at it from a bigger perspective, because at the end of the day, we're trying to, security people are now like almost the Samaritans now of the world, because they're doing all the kind of work which not everyone wants to do, right? You're going to have to get in, you're going to be dirty. What I think is like, what I was trying to get to is when you sort of have this sense of security, and again, knowing also how you can respond to it. So, if someone does come in, how you're going to respond to it. You've got your 24/7 security, you got someone that you can call. You can also then inside your house invest a whole lot more in the stuff that's happening, right? Because if you know that you don't have the best security around, so you don't even have a gate, you don't even worry about locks, you're not going to buy the TV that you really want. You're not going to buy the furniture that you really want, because ultimately what sometimes will happen, you'll now be more fearful. So already you're seeing that you're not going to take the risk to get the things that you really want. You're not going to thrive and go and jump after those, right? But equally, and again, I can be, what's the right word about it? I can play devil's advocate, is that also sometimes when you show all your security, you also become a target. So question now comes, and this will be for a future time, is
some people see that as a challenge, and they're like, well, I see you've got all this shit, but I'm still gonna fucking have a go at it.
And that is actually what happens, is any person who goes out there and says that I'm secure, and this is why I'll say that if any security person ever comes to you and says, I can make you 100% secure, run away, because that is a challenge in itself. A lot of the people, I think a lot of the people who got into hacking did it more as a challenge than it was to threaten lives of people.
Yeah, definitely.
It was that, oh my goodness, oh, you're a security person, I'm going to break into that. Not because of anything.
It's a mindset. It's not, well, a lot of the time it's a mindset. I mean, just some people have found out it's a mindset that can be very fucking lucrative. Yes, but I still think there's still people out there that are sitting, bug bounty people. They spend hours trying to break into other people's shit just for the chance of getting some cash. That cash isn't guaranteed because someone else might have got there first, but they do it because they like the challenge, and that's the mindset that a lot of people in offensive security or attackers have, and they want to just see, can I do it for shits and gigs?
It really is, and I think at the end of the day, if we could get those people to be on the other side, I would challenge them and say, for shits and giggles, can you protect us?
It's not as fun though, is it?
It can be, because someone else, if someone breaks it, then I'm like, oh, well, then you may not be as good as you thought.
Well, yeah.
So again, then it just tells us it's just a big ego boost at the end of the day. But look, this is what I love about security is it's never ending. I think that's the environment I'm in, is that it's never ending. You have to learn all the time. So you have to be humble enough to know that things can break. You have to be humble enough to know that I'm not going to always be the best at it. So let me just keep learning.
Yeah.
And let me keep teaching, because also that's the other part, is if I keep learning, I need to teach someone else, because we need to pass it on. So I'm very big around that, around passing it on and making sure that other people can be able to do what I do, so that I'm not the bottleneck that it ends on.
So on that note, where can people find you so that they can learn from you if they are interested in connecting?
Right. So cool. So you can look for Mark Shawa on LinkedIn. But alternatively, if you can't, you can actually go www.markshower.com. So I've got a website. You can go there directly. It's a whole lot easier, because then you can even reach out to me, be able to email me if you need to. And I think, yeah, let's get a conversation going. Let's see how we can be able to help each other to become more secure, or to be able to work securely and build a culture and a community of people who are security conscious.
Perfect. Well, that was so much fun. Thank you so much for joining us. And we'll be back in a couple of weeks' time, I'm sure. I haven't actually got my diary up, so I've got no fucking idea when it's going to be. So we'll see. Right. There'll be an episode at some point in the future. But thanks so much, Mark. And we will, hopefully, maybe in the future, have you back on again, because that was super fun.
That would be great. That would be great. Thank you for having me as well.
That's all right. No problem. Let me end. Bye.